The one piece of advice I'd give to people who are coming on the evening is sit back, think, how can I use the information that I'm listening here this evening to plan for my farm for the next 3 to 5 years? Because there is real positivity there at the moment, and a lot of people would have been saying in the past, it's very hard to plan in beef farming when the beef price is so poor, and I want to invest in the farm, but really, will the farm make enough money to reinvest in it? Absolutely, there is going to be the money there the next couple of years. You will have the confidence to go on and invest in your farm, but where is the best place to make that investment?
Hello and welcome to the Beef Edge, the Teagasc Beef podcast, for all your latest news, information and advice for Irish beef farmers. I'm Catherine Egan, and with the Teagasc National Beef Conference taking place on Tuesday the 18th of November in the Raheen Woods Hotel at Athenry, County Galway, I'm joined by Teagasc Head of Drystock, Pearse Kelly, to get an insight into what's in store on the night. Pearse, you're very welcome. Can you start by outlining what farmers can expect from this year's National Beef Conference?
So this year, as you say, it's in the Raheen Woods. It's on the 18th of November. It's a free event. We've had the beef conference over in that part of the world, I suppose, for the last few years. So hopefully we'll have a lot of people that have been at the conference the last couple of years coming back. There was a lot of very positive feedback the last couple of years and people really enjoyed the evening. And it's a really enjoyable evening from the point of view is that it's an opportunity for people to come along on the evening. We start at 5 o'clock and we have a bit of food halfway through the evening. You get to hear some really expert speakers, not only from Ireland, but from across the world. And you get to meet a lot of the people that are working in the industry. A lot of industry people also attend. So if you want to have a chat to them over a cup of tea or coffee at the break time or before or afterwards, that's an opportunity. And it's a good way of getting some really good information in terms of what's happening on the global world stage as well as nationally. So that's the kind of the way we're aiming this year. We're kind of looking at 3 themes this year. We're looking at, with the price of beef gone up over €2 a kilo since the last beef conference, there's real value there now in selling animals, especially from a suckler herd if you don't have to buy in. So we're looking at that whole theme of increasing even more the output coming from the suckler herd in terms of the value of what's coming from the suckler herd. So if you have 30 suckler cows, you have 30 calves for sale rather than 25. We're also looking at the whole financial side. We're looking at these beef prices going forward. We're seeing, where did they come from? Where did this rise in beef price come from? Is it likely to be there for another year, 2 years, 4 years, 5 years? Who knows? So we have a speaker there on that. And then the third theme is around generational renewal. So we know this is an issue not just on beef farms, across all enterprises. It's actually an issue across all of Europe, if not the world at this stage, where it's getting more and more difficult to encourage the next generation, even with good profits. It's getting more and more difficult to encourage the next generation of people into farming, and that has implications for food production. It has implications for the family farm. There's a lot of different implications. So we have a really good panel lined up for the second session.
There's a real emphasis on breeding high value weanlings, as you mentioned. Why is it such a critical area for profitability right now?
We see there that, weanlings now, €6-7 a kilo is typically being achieved by continental and other breeds, weanlings there across the board this autumn. But if you stand back and you think about it, if I go back to that 30 cow herd example I have, if you have 30 cows and the national average is 0.85. So let's say, for argument's sake, you end up with 25 calves coming from 30 cows. But if you could get that up to where the target is, and herds are achieving this, it's not pie in the sky stuff. We see it across the country. We see it on our demonstration farms, we see it on our research farms, we see it across a lot of our clients' farms. But a lot of them aren't achieving it. Is 1 calf per cow per year. That'd be an extra 5 calves. And on a 30 cow herd, an extra 5 calves where those weanlings are worth, on average this year, €2,000, some of them? That's an extra 10,000 income for no extra costs, little or no extra costs coming into a farm. 10,000 is a huge amount of income for that beef farmer to achieve. So we want to focus on that as one of the areas to focus, to say, well, what are the kind of critical things that affects that calf per cow per year, especially. And okay, yeah, producing a high value weanling, everybody wants to produce that really high quality, fancy weanling. But you could argue that that's not as important now, because the high quality, fancy weanling was the one that was getting €2,000. Plain enough weanlings are getting close to that now. And okay, high value, fancy weanling is getting even more. But what we're saying is the high value is going to come from increasing the output coming from your current suckler herd. We're not saying necessarily to increase the suckler cow herd size. Some people might make that decision. Some people maybe that went back in cows might go back up. Who knows? That's a decision people have to make for themselves. But what we're looking at is saying, even with your existing cows, so you have 10 cows, 20 cows, 30 cows, 50 cows, can you maximize the output coming from that herd? Because under today's beef prices, and we don't expect those beef prices to change significantly in the next couple of years. Under those prices, every extra weaning is worth a huge amount of income to a beef farm.
Most definitely, Pearse. Dr. David Kinney is focusing on managing the suckler cow before and after calving, which is key for fertility and building the figures that you've mentioned there. What are the most common areas that farmers can improve on?
Yeah, so what we've seen, David will explain this on the evening. A mistake a lot of people make is, they calve the suckler cow down, the calf is on them, they then have that period between calving and getting the cow back in calf, and they say, oh God, right, I have a pen of cows there, or I have a number of cows there that are quite thin. I need to up the meal to them and increase their condition, or they'll be hard enough to get back in calf. What David will be saying is all the research has shown that the game is up. It's too late at that stage. Where you need to focus on is in the dry cow period. In that last couple of months before that cow calves, she needs to be kept in good condition. If she's in poor condition at calving down, there's not an awful lot more from a management point of view you can do to improve fertility in that cow, and it's those cows that are in trouble. The other ones that are in trouble are your first time calvers to go back and calf for a second time. They're where there's a big loss of productivity. So you have 7 or 8 first time calvers, maybe 3 of those not going back in calf. They're after costing you a fortune to put into the herd. And with a little bit of management that could have been kept in the herd, David will go through what that little bit of management is to make sure that they do go back in calf, because they're probably your most valuable animals. They're probably animals that are genetically better because you've been improving on your herd genetic improvement. And then to lose them at this critical juncture is a disaster, and just getting cow price for them. So they're a group. So he'll be going through different groups like that, but he'll really be focusing on the nutrition in the pre-calving period, and not just in a couple of weeks, kind of from the 18th of November, if you like, onwards, for a lot of people at the conference. If you have a cow not calving out until the middle of February, that still gives you 3 months pre-calving nutrition. He'll be looking at minerals, be looking at vaccination. Again, losing a calf was always a horrible thing and a big loss to any suckler farmer. Losing a calf now is a huge loss. So from scour or that, so having your proper vaccines in, vaccinating those calves then when they're born for pneumonia and different things like that as well. And the money is there now to pay for these things. In the past, we suspect some people some people didn't want to spend the money maybe on vaccines and that, but the money is there now to pay for those vaccines, more than enough, and that's what David will be focusing on too. But very much on the nutrition in the late and then obviously after the cow calves down, nutrition to get her back in calf then as well.
Katie Quigley from ICBF will be talking about the myostatin gene, and there's always a balance between muscling and calving ease. How can farmers use genetic tools to strike that balance?
Katie is a geneticist with ICBF. She's going to be focusing on this myostatin gene. Some of your listeners will be well familiar what the myostatin gene is. Others maybe not. There's no big mystery with it, but what it is it's a gene that cattle have, and there's more than one type of myostatin gene. And the myostatin gene, in summary, certain myostatin genes can cause extreme muscling in calves. Okay, and it depends on if the mammy, the cow, has the myostatin gene, and if she's bred to a bull who also has the same myostatin gene. And if the calf ends up with the 2 bits of that myostatin gene, the bit coming from the mammy and the bit coming from the daddy, certain myostatin genes can cause extreme muscling. And that's brilliant if that's what you're looking for. So you have a lot of people who are looking to breed these really muscled calves. They have the cow that can calve that. They know they have the cow that can calve that muscled calf. So they're willing to take that to aim to look for the calf to have the myostatin gene, and then maybe they'll have a show calf or whatever, or just a really good quality weanling. So that's one thing. But the other side of it is you have farmers there who don't want that really wet muscled calf, because as we all know, really muscled calves and some of these myostatin genes, they're really muscled. They cause a big level of muscling on the calf, but they also cause calving difficulty. And if that cow's not managed properly, it can cause obviously serious problems. So some people are trying to avoid the calf getting the double myostatin bits from the mammy and daddy. So that's what Katie will be looking at. And the really interesting thing now is that anybody that's on Herd Plus with ICBF, they can go down through their herd profile and they can see which cow has which myostatin gene. So if you're thinking, right, I'm going to breed this cow to a certain AI bull, and I know that AI bull has the myostatin gene, but he has a lot of other good things that I want. I'm not looking for the myostatin gene. You can avoid breeding him with cows that you know also have the same myostatin gene, if you're wanting to avoid having a difficult calving. The opposite will be true is if you're trying to get the myostatin gene into the calf. So Katie will be going through, and we had a webinar earlier this year online, and there was a huge amount of questions from the audience on the webinar around the whole area of the myostatin gene. And it's another management tool that beef farmers can use to their advantage.
And there are two farmers on the panel, Pearse, and they're putting into practice just what you've mentioned with regard to what David will be talking about and Katie will be talking about. How are they matching genetics with what the market demands?
Yeah, so we're doing something slightly different this year, Catherine, with the beef conference. We're having two short papers, David and Katie, and then we're very quickly getting into a panel discussion that Keith Fahy, the local beef enterprise beef advisor in the area, will be chairing. And on that panel, we'll have David and Katie, but we'll also have John Barry, who's a suckler farmer from just outside Nina in County Tipperary. And John has 70 or 80 suckler cows, spring and autumn calving, and he's breeding for the weanling and store market. So he's really aiming for using genetics to produce that really top quality calf. So we'll hear from John how he does that, why he does what he does, and what he's aiming to achieve from a genetics point of view. And he uses quite a nice bit of AI as well. So it'll be interesting to hear what bulls he's using and how he's getting on with them. And then on the other side of that coin, with Tomas O'Connor. Tomas is a big suckler, a big finisher. Finishes a lot of cattle from the suckler herd, buys them in over the years. And he's based just outside of Ty in County Kildare. And he's going to be saying, well, listen, as a buyer, what am I looking for? And I'd imagine, he's looking for a certain amount of genetics, obviously, and he's looking to use the CBV and whatever else, but he's also looking for kind of health guarantees in those weanlings as well. So it'd be really good to hear from Tomas what sends him back as a repeat customer to certain farmers and maybe other farmers that he might not go back to. So those are the two farmers, Catherine, yeah.
And as you mentioned, from the market point of view, Castlereagh Mart manager Brendan Egan is also going to be there to give a perspective from the Mart point of view, what buyers are looking for this high value weanlings.
Yeah, we're lucky to have Brendan there. Brendan's going to give us the market perspective, because he sees it from all angles. He sees the exporters, he sees the home buyers, he sees what the sellers are bringing in. He'll be able to give us a really good market perspective in terms of, what works and what doesn't work within the mart. And it'd be great for especially for people who are selling weanlings, I think, to get that perspective. What are the buyers looking for? Why do they bid more for certain cattle? We obviously know why in terms of weight and quality and that, but there's, I'm sure, other vagaries in that Brendan will give us a good insight into as well.
That's great, Pearse. The second panel for the night is titled Beef 2025 and Beyond, Prices, Profits and Passing on the Farm. And listeners will be hearing from Rupert Claxton on the night. What are the key factors driving beef prices internationally right now?
Yeah, so Rupert was actually at our beef conference 2 years ago in Ballinasloe, Catherine, and he works with a company called Jira, and Jira are UK based, but they work all over the world and giving advice on the meat market, all across the whole meat market. And Rupert would specialise in beef as well as other things. So Rupert gave us a really good insight 2 years ago. It'd be great to get him back now to say, well, what's driving this, Rupert? Listen, a big part of it is supply. Two things, I suppose, Catherine, and Rupert will go into this on more detail in the night. Supply across the world has dropped. Okay, supply in Ireland has dropped, supply in UK has dropped, supply across Europe and supply in the US has dropped. But and consumption though has held, and in parts of the world it's rising. So the demand for beef is going up while the supply is dropping. So it's a highly balanced market, like a lot of markets, and that's what's driving to a large extent the rise we're seeing there in the price of beef as well. Listen, there are other things there that are impacting it across the world too, and Rupert's the expert on those in terms of the implications of tariffs and disruption to world trade that tariffs are causing, and that. But what we're hoping Rupert will give us on the night is an insight: is this a 1 year thing, a 2 year thing, a 5 year thing, a 10 year? How far can we look into the future to say is this likely to last? And from talking to Rupert and that and preparing for the evening, I think he's going to have some really positive news for us to hear on the evening.
And listeners will recall we had Trevor Boland from IFAC on the podcast recently, and Trevor is also speaking at the Beef Conference, and he's going to be discussing farm profits and tax planning. What are the key areas, Pearse, for farmers to invest in this year?
There's a lot of interest in this area too, Catherine. So people have significantly increased. Certain farmers, especially suckler farmers who aren't out buying stock or replacing stock, their incomes are going to be significantly higher in 2025 than they have in any previous years. They need to, first of all, talk to their accountant. They need to talk about, what can I invest in? And for some people, it could be as straightforward as if they have a pension scheme, looking to put more money into that pension scheme. It might be the first place a lot of them need to look at from a future point of view. But within the farm, then there's other areas in terms of health and safety. I would say is probably the number one on a lot of farms, and making life easier. So if there's repairs and maintenance there that can be done and paid for before the end of the year, they'd be a priority, I'd be saying, for a lot of farms. If you have a cattle crush there that's maybe seen its days, and that look at investing maybe in terms of improving the safety of that cattle crush, improving the handling, improving the way it works, and that looking at sheds, looking at basically labour efficiency and health and safety. And then longer term, we're saying, and we're hoping, as we say, these profits are going to continue longer term. If these profits stay as they are at the moment, we'll be saying investing in soil fertility, infrastructure on the farm, fencing, water trucks. Soil fertility is a big one. There's a lot of money could be spent on a lot of farms in improving soil fertility, and that investment will pay back 10 times over the next number of years. So getting your lime right would be the number one thing. And you wouldn't be long spending a few €1,000 on a few load of lime. And the payback for that is excellent. And then your P's and K's. So areas like that, Trevor will be going into more of them on the evening, Catherine, but they'd be the ones I'd be looking at first.
Yeah, and as you say, really it's striking the balance now between reinvestment in particular areas on the farm for labour and health and safety. You mentioned at the start, Pearse, generation renewal, and it's something that's coming up time and time again. How important is it to address generation renewal and farm succession as part of this year's discussions at the National Beef Conference?
Extra profits are brilliant, and you'd say what you're listening, there's more money in it, there'll be more interest. But that's only one part of the puzzle. We see this across other more profitable enterprises over the years, that generation renewal is an issue as well. So it's all very well having a good beef price, but if people aren't willing to come back and do the farm and take over farms from their parents or from relatives, and that's going to be an issue down the line, and it's going to have an impact on the output from the industry in total. And that's not good from an economic point of view. It's not good from a family farm point of view. It's not good from a community point of view. So what we're going to be focusing on the evening, we've a really good panel discussion there. We've Emma Dillon, who sat on the Generation Renewal Commission. Trevor Boland actually sat on it as well, so he's going to sit in on the panel. We've Ruth Fennell, it's our collaborative farming specialist. And then we have Eamon and Donncha McCarthy, our farmers from Waterford, who've agreed to sit in it, and they're heading into a succession partnership. So we're going to have a really good discussion around what are the issues, what are the challenges, and what might be some of the solutions. Listen, we're not going to come up with all the solutions in the evening, but I think we'll have a good discussion. And we've Damien O'Reilly, formerly of RTE, going to chair that second session, the whole session, including that panel review.
Two very interesting sessions there, Pearse. And on the night, there's also going to be a number of industry experts and information stands for farmers.
There's a huge amount of information stands there across the board, across Teagasc. I'm not going to go into them all now from a time point of view, but there's also an opportunity for people to get a bit of a health check themselves. Healthy Galway, Cree are there, and there'll be an opportunity for people to get checked out themselves on the evening as well. And it's something that we've done the last couple of beef conferences where there's different organisations have come in around the whole area of well-being and that, and we've people have really appreciated the opportunity on the evening, maybe as they're having a cup of tea or a sandwich, to have a chat to some of these people around different topics and that. So there'll be an opportunity to see those.
Finally, Pearse, where can listeners get more information about the beef conference, and what one piece of advice would you give to listeners that would be attending the conference?
Where they can get the information is, say, if they want to go in on teagasc.ie, there'll be plenty of information up there on our website. There'll be a lot of ads coming out in the next couple of weeks, and there'll be QR codes on those. If they follow those, it'll bring them to it. You don't have to register to come to the conference, just turn up in the evening. It's free. The one piece of advice I'd give to people who are coming on the evening is sit back, think, how can I use the information that I'm listening here this evening to plan for my farm for the next 3 to 5 years? Because there is real positivity there at the moment. And a lot of people would have been saying in the past, it's very hard to plan in beef farming when the beef price is so poor, and I want to invest in the farm, but really, will the farm make enough money to reinvest in it? Hopefully what we're going to hear on the evening, on the 18th, is that absolutely there is going to be the money there the next couple of years. You will have the confidence to go on and invest in your farm. But where is the best place to make that investment? And back to the generational renewal, if I can make this farm more attractive for me to work on, it's going to be more attractive for the next generation to work on too.
Thanks, Pearse. A great lineup of speakers covering very interesting and important topics. And we look forward to meeting listeners at this year's National Beef Conference on Tuesday, the 18th of November, starting at 5 p.m. in the Raheen Woods Hotel, Athenry. That's all for this week's episode, and my thanks to Pearse for joining me on the show. You can catch up on all other shows and interviews from the Beef Edge podcast on the Teagasc website at teagasc.ie, or you can listen on Apple and Google Podcasts as well as Spotify. Don't forget to rate, review and subscribe so you never miss a show. For all other updates from our beef programme, keep an eye on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Until next time, I'm Catherine Egan, and thanks for listening.